Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Bobby Perrier here with my main man, my brother from another mother, Mr. Craig Ahoy. Craig, how you doing, big boy?
Oh, living. Woo.
Great to have you here. You guys saw us last week or a couple days ago. We did a small little go live together, and it was just super fun to be there just to watch you activate. I've known you for, I guess, a little over a year now or something around there. Where you came in as a client for me. Okay, so when you came into my life, I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a background in teaching, correct?
Yeah, I've just sort of finished up teaching, hopefully.
Yeah.
I was teaching for 21 years in high schools all across. I'm over here in Australia, but yeah, all across my state and even another state. Right out near Ayers Rock. You've probably heard of Ayers Rock. So
Yep.
Alice Springs, the town near there, I was there for a year, and then some really, really remote places in Queensland as well. Queensland's the pointy one on the east side.
Cool, man.
So right up the top, closer to Papua New Guinea than anywhere.
That's awesome. So, okay, you got a teacher background, and
Yep.
and then when you came into me, you came in for this, because we're all in business together. We all build an Enagic, a Gaz. We're part of the Freedom Team. Most of you guys already know this. If you don't, then what rock have you been living under? But we're a family, and I had a chance to meet this guy, and he kind of like, he told Craig, you told me something. You're like, you're doing more than just reading these numbers. Hey, you know that, right? I'm like, whatever do you mean? I was intrigued because I was super excited. I was kind of young in my business, and you kind of explained to me that I'm almost the way I feel about it after sort of trying to recall it for a year was like, you told me that I was moving space and time, and I was basically like moving energies around for people, and I was helping going through like holding a spiritual space for someone, and it kind of opened me up, and I was like, wow, this is super profound to think I'm just reading someone's chart. It's very about the equation and about what's happening. You're like, no, man, it's more than that. You're doing something a bit deeper, and you got to be aware of this. I'm like, oh, you're right. I felt like I was, but I felt like I wasn't. I knew that I was, but I consciously was like, no, no, no. And I know in my numbers, there's a part of me that just doesn't want to acknowledge the power that I have. It's usually the case with us when some people want to acknowledge something they don't have, and they don't want to acknowledge something they do have. So I was in that category. I was like, no, it's just about a finite little reading. And then next thing you know, you came in with this, dude, you're doing something bigger. This really something bigger happening. So and it stuck with me. It sat with me. And then we got a chance to, grow a Facebook friendship. And then what ended up happening was, hey, Luke, what's going on, brother? Thanks for joining. I'm basically just telling Craig the backstory, or telling everybody the backstory of me and Craig. So it was a couple months before I came to Australia, and I was excited to meet this guy. I was excited to meet all of my Freedom Team fam. And when I did, it was truly brother from another mother. It was absolutely hugs. He was, giving me inappropriate jokes. He was swearing at me. And basically we had a great time. It was just an evening before the first event, and it was great because we had connected hearts, and I felt like I had not just, I was like, it's you guys have worked with me, right? People who have, we become friends, we become social community, we become partners in your success, and I felt like I was introduced to an old friend of mine, and someone who I could really trust, and someone who I could really work with. And I was kind of feeling a little bit of these jitters, a little bit of these anxieties. And Craig told me, I'm going to hold your energy down for you. I'm going to ground you. I'm going to be an anchor for you and help you to alleviate some of that pressure. You look out for me in the crowd, and I will hold that space for you. And I was like, oh, my heart is so full. I just traveled across the world, and now somebody's me here. And I was like, man, you said what I needed to hear. And when we got a chance to go a little bit deeper into our friendship, I recognized that, 20-year-old teacher here, but reality is that you are also what you named me. You called me a sage. And I'm like, well, that's crazy. I never heard of that word before. I mean, I have, but usually it's something you burn in your room, or something like, like an old wise master of some sort of ancient religion of some kind. And you use that word to describe me. And I was like, I felt a lot of like a lot of soul power in the greatness you were speaking into me. And I'd already known that you were a really big cat, a really big person, a really powerful soul, an old spirit, an old soul guide that's really set here for us. Your name took you on a path. It took you on a path now to actually go out and want to become a coach yourself, to go out and actually charge people for sessions, and to help people. So between Freedom Fest 1, or I guess it was, what was it called back then? It was the Freedom Blueprint. It was the Freedom Blueprint all the way to Freedom Fest. You've grown quite a bit. And I don't think that any of this is kind of new for you. It feels like either you rediscovered something from a past life, or you have known about this, but you never really took it in. But you've thrown down words like Qigong and like energy work and Reiki and like holding the energy and like doing like this kind of feeling. I remember when we met, you told me to do like this and like feel it in your stomach, and I'm like, oh man, this is so super cool. This is right up my alley. I'm all into things that kind of have a difficult time to be explained, but yet someone has a technical understanding of them. Like imagine that. It's like, feel what? I'm holding a piece of air in front of my stomach. I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, I feel it. And I mean, I've got my Reiki, so I kind of know. But the reality is that like you are an energy worker. In my side of the world, we call these people light workers, soul healers, energy movers. There are people who can help you underneath all of the surface level BS that we have to live inside of our lives together. So when we get a chance to work together now, I wanted to let people know who you are. I wanted to share with them my level of experience, the amount of love that you've given me, and you've been able to cut through my BS. You've actually been able to do that for me in a really powerful way. Hey, Robin, what's going on? Welcome to the call. Basically just bringing everybody up to speed is how I know this guy, and I really wanted you to, and you're about to hear him speak, because I'm gonna transfer it over to you, Craig, with a really big question. I guess the first question of many, I'm just gonna interview you a little bit so that people can get an understanding of what's happening around you and what's gonna go down next week. But what is it that you actually do? Is there like a word or because it feels like a mix of a couple different modalities. It's kind of like Craigology, but can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. It sounds like a bit of a piss take. That's an Australian term, but like a piss take. So it's like a joke, like I'm joking, or like I'm avoiding the question. But my honest answer to a lot of people is that I seem to be a multifaceted person, which a lot of us are. But the real bit that gets interesting is that I seem to literally be whatever people that are drawn to me need me to be, if that makes sense. So somehow I'm putting out a vibration, and people that are looking for something, when I have the capacity to hold them, when I have the capacity to allow them to transform and be the catalyst for them to transform into what they want to be, I have the capacity to do that. And it's interesting that you said that. You know, when we first were introduced, I just had this strong premonition then that, and I think what I said to you was that, man, numerology is only a fraction of what your capacity is, and you are so much more than that. That you were talking about equations, you were talking about maths, you were talking about the logistical stuff, you know, the brain structure stuff. And this is where I just find this stuff really fascinating. And it brings, I'm going to divert a little bit, but you mentioned the word work, you know, an energy worker or a light worker. I've even been playing with that word worker because I don't really feel like it's work. You know, when you're doing stuff that you love, it doesn't feel like work. When you're doing stuff that's purposeful and passionate, and you're passionate about, you can probably relate. You know, you look at the clock and all of a sudden 2 or 3 hours have passed. You go, oh, where did that go? You know, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't require energy and it doesn't require time. It's just that you're in the moment and there's no push in it. You know, it's all, you're just drawn into it. But, yeah, so I seem to be able to do a lot of things that a lot of people find quite catalytic. You know, the word alchemy is a bit of a buzzword, you know, this internal alchemy. It's a little bit of a buzzword, and it's a bit of a shame. And even soul connection, they're sort of buzzwords in certain spheres now. And I find that's a little bit of a shame because it takes a little bit of the impact and the raw power out of exactly what it is when it really, really happens. You know, you can brand something and you can call it amazing, but if it's not really amazing, then it's, you know, you're killing the word amazing.
Well, I mean, yeah, like I know that like things like crystals, gems, energy, vibration, intuition, attention to things, the emotion you put on stuff, like all of these things are really powerful and important, but we take them for granted. We don't really dive into them the way that we possibly could. You blew my freaking mind back in July. You basically were like, I was just like hanging off your every energy because I was like, this guy's going to teach me stuff that I need to know about my life. Like I had a premonition. So we played kind of leapfrog here. Like I took your name and I busted it open. Through our time together, I like to take credit for the A in your name. So it's not like your middle name is Alfred or Albert, but we put the letter A in there and it gave you a vibration that allowed some more movement towards your passion and then towards business. For anybody who doesn't really know or too familiar with what I do, I basically take who you are and I find a name that works based on that. So I like to think that I played a part in the unleashing of Craig Ahoy, or as I like to call you, Craig Ahoy. So there's a feeling, matey. So there's a feeling in there that says, okay, I wanted to work with you and I got a chance and I was blessed enough. You blessed my business and my family by paying for a session. You sat there and waited for me and we actually got a chance to work together. Now, when I get a chance to see you, I was like, tell me more. Tell me more. I want to know this. I know this. There's something that says, Bobby, shut up and listen to this right now. And I think that feeling was in there because I recognize that inside of me when I find mentors, I find the people who I consider coaches, people who I deem my friends, the people who can teach me something and help me grow. So I saw that in you and I saw that and then my heart exploded when you were like, I'm going to hold your energy for you. So then when I was up there, up on stage, 500 people, it was crazy. And I got a chance to speak for all you guys in Freedom Team. This guy stands up and basically says a really nice, and he was like super soft spoken and, you know, he's dressed nice. And like, he just kind of like, and there was so much energy. Here I am singing and dancing to Bruno Mars. And then he's like, you know, imagine if your life was like a jigsaw puzzle. And then like this analogy that he uses to describe what I do to actually help people make sense of what they're going through in their life. And I was just like, man, thank you so much for just throwing that piece to me, threw me that energy and really helped ground me. So it's kind of interesting because usually we do that for our friends when we want to support them. We're cheerleading for them. But this came at a much more spiritually undercurrent level where I was like, well, wait a second. Not only is he cheerleading for me on the physical plane, but he's also holding space for me while I go all the way up there enough to talk to all these people. I've got a really dear friend who's like, I got you, bro. I'm not going to let you fall. I got your energy. And I'm thinking, and that's a pretty weird thing to say. It's a pretty weird thing for normal people, especially if you're inside of the Freedom Team. You know, everybody's a good level of weird. Everybody gets a chance to do things like, if you've worked with Catherine, it's a spiral. If you've worked with me, it's a numerology session. If you've worked with Craig, it's a whatever you need me to be, baby. This feeling of like, I be what they need me to be, energetically speaking. And so it led you down a path. Can you tell me about this? So now what do people do? Okay, so I'm going to ask, there's a couple of questions that are on my mind because I know this guy does work. He does one-on-one sessions. And he will, and it usually takes 2 or 3 sessions that you'll need in order to actually get the full impact of what Craig can do for you. I got into a point in my life where I was expanding and I was needing coaches. I needed a hypnotherapist. I needed Craig twice. I needed to get my shit together in the next level because, hey, I just had a baby. I just spoke on the world stage. I need to get my stuff down. I've got big, ambitious goals. I want to get better. I want to become a better person. So I was like, on my list of things and people I need to see, Craig is one of them. I know he's just starting in his business, but that was one of the really powerful things that made me want to connect with you right off the bat, because I know that what I experienced in there was more than what you charged me. When I experienced at that night where we had at the bar, where we were just shooting the shit, meeting each other for the first time, the experience I had with you up until I said, hey, let me work with you, I knew that that was worth more than what I paid you. And I knew also that as you grow, your prices are going to keep growing as well. Like this just, I understand where you're going. I'm like, this is an ancient knowledge. This is an ancient thing. And I can feel a part of you who wants to play it down. No big deal. It's all good. I just kind of work around the thing there, or even work. I play around the energy and I help create around love around people. But I know that there's something very seriously deep that people are really hiding behind, because back, as you kind of say it, we're built on the morals and the values of what happened when we're 5 and 6. So that ends up stunting us as adult versions. We can't seem to get past our own shit, to the point where even on our session, I was like, dude, I just want you to rip me apart and beat me down and like, you know, like share with me everything and come past the fun guy stage and into the like, let's drill Bobby into see what he's. He's like, man, can you hear the amount of negativity in that language? I'm like, absolutely, man. You're my coach. I can take it. I can take this discipline. And he's like, that's a symbol of the amount of abuse that you've given yourself. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I needed to hear. This is so crazy. And when we got a chance to work together, I'll explain this in a few minutes. I want to explain the process that I went through when we did this. I want to tell the story, but I want to ask you a question first. So what happens? Can you explain these 3 sessions? Like, is that like a thing that we can do right now, where you talk to me about what happens in the first session, what happens in the second, and what happens in the third when someone works with you?
Yeah. I'm even expanding it. There's a whole sequence now, you know, even out to 5, and even it's expansive beyond that. I've got a couple of clients now that I'm you know, we're entering this nurturing phase, you know, and there's a really good reason behind it, and it makes so much sense that it's ridiculous. So basically, the premise is that we're born and we have all this potential. And yes, there's people that believe in reincarnation, and there's multi-generational theory where, you know, even 7 generations back or something that happened to your ancestors, if that cycle was perpetuated, becomes embedded within your DNA, so that even when you're born, you're literally already imprinted with a certain life, with a certain potential. So, hey, Kelly, how are you?
Hey, Kelly, how's it going, bud?
Where this gets interesting is that even if we don't take that into consideration, if we look at the fact that I love using this tree analogy. I use this tree analogy. I really love it. You know, that we're all born as a seed. So we've got this seed. We've got this potential to grow into this magnificent tree. And whether we grow into this magnificent tree or not is dictated by the soil that we're in. Whether we get all the basic nutrients that we need. Is it fertile soil? Do we get the water? Do we get the sun? Do we have the vitamins and minerals that we need to actually be fertile and grow into this beautiful tree that then flowers and fruits and has this amazing life and then perpetuates life? Do we have that? And human beings are exactly the same. You know, the premise is that we're constantly scanning. Even as adults, we're still scanning for the same stuff. You know, are we loved? Are we allowed to love in return? Do we have a sense of belonging? Is our voice worth hearing? Are we allowed to be creative and explore? It all comes down to our sense of worth. That's what it really comes down to. But what then happens is, just like the seed to become a tree, you know, if the soil that we're grown in, if our environment doesn't completely nurture the growth of this magnificent tree, then the tree's not magnificent. You know, we're stunted. Or if the tree's growing and it's in, you know, like in a desert, then it might not even grow at all. It might just die. And that's a harsh analogy, but it's kind of true. Where my process comes in, where we start is it's an energetic process. You know, it's using quantum theories, where there's a documentary on Netflix. I'm not sure if you've seen it, Bobby. It's called Heal.
No.
And it's got Dr. Joe Dispenza on it and a few people like that. And the premise is that the physical stuff that we know in life, the mechanical stuff, you know, the fact that, you know, I feel solid, you know, the fact that, you know, I'm talking to you on a computer, that's all, if we look at it, that's something like 0.000000001% of everything that there is. And if you took the nucleus of an atom, then the nearest particle would be like a grain of salt, and it's about 2 kilometers away. And that just blew my mind. It just puts it all into this analogy that, well, what the frick is in this space? And the answer is energy. But we don't think about it. In our society, it might be a little bit different over where you are, but I'm sure it's pretty similar, where if it's not concrete, if it's not mechanical, if it's not standardized, if it's not understood, then it's discounted and it's marginalised. You know, you hear words like woo-woo, ooh, it's a bit woo-woo. Yeah, you're right, but we don't think of gravity as woo-woo. You know, we don't think of, we walk over to a light switch, we can flick a light switch and the light bulb comes on. We don't think, ooh, that was a bit weird. That's a bit mysterious. You know, I'm talking to you on a freaking computer that's run by electricity, and I'm seeing you and you're on the other side of the world right now, and other people are able to tune into it. It's just, we've got these devices like phones, and there's all these amazing, miraculous things. So what I get amazed by and the possibility of is taking the 99.9999999% of everything else that there is. What actually happens if we get to inject even just a part of that into this tiny little infinitesimal bit of stuff that we think really matters? How big does that little bit of stuff actually get to expand into? You know, what happens when we embrace energy? What happens when we embrace quantum energy into our business or into our life or into our love or into our purpose? Or what gets to happen then? You know, and instead of marginalizing it where we miss out on it, you know, people that had strong intuition in a lot of cultures in ancient times would have been the center of a community. You know, when you had problems, you went to that person because their insight actually enabled you to live a better life. And yet in our Western society, there was a period in European and Western societies where if people were like that, they were burnt. You know, they were persecuted and marginalized. And this is where it gets interesting, is that whenever we have a sense that something's not quite right, or we might get judged, you know, before the age of 7. So if we say we experience something like an idea pops into our head and it sounds unusual, but we say it anyway, and someone says, oh, that's a weird thing to say. And so straight away you just bottle it up. Oh, okay, so I don't want to be judged anymore. That felt gross. That I didn't like how that felt. I felt disempowered. So I'm not going to say stuff like that anymore. And if the messages keep coming through, I'm just going to shut them off and block them out.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I talk about it, it's like you've picked up this boulder and you've literally thrown it into the stream that is your energy flow. And the more you do that, you end up getting to the point where the energy flow has to divert. It's not natural, it's not flowing. And you can even get to the point where if you put enough boulders in the stream, it just dams it all up. There's no energy flowing in and out. So my process really is around, I have an ability in this context to be able to see people's energy flow. It can take a little while to come through, but through the session, and it's interesting, it comes to me in they're almost like poetic metaphors sometimes, where I might be seeing into a person, and like in your instance, for example, you were in Canada, and I was imagining that you were right here in front of me. And in that context, then once I actually found, you know, it's all frequency, it's all energy, and just got the ability to, we can even feel most people don't even know what their own frequencies feel like, what their own energy field feels like. You know, and that's what we talk about, qi. You know, the Chinese have been talking about qi for thousands of years. The actual energy flow that flows around you. I basically can look into people and it's through different things, through body movements that I feel called to make, or images will just pop up. You know, like I had a client the other day and they didn't actually have any legs energetically. They just, the energy flow just stopped, had no legs. And so then a little bit of logic pops in, but I try not to let it. The intuition comes through and it's like, whoa, what do you use legs for? Legs are for walking, legs are for connecting to the ground. Oh, let me get it. You don't feel like you're actually going to ever get anywhere because you don't have any legs and you can't transport and you're never going to achieve anything decent. Mm. And people are just like, oh yeah. Look at it. Yeah, it just ding, bells come on. So it's quite an interesting process, and I don't know if I did it justice just then, but yeah, it comes through visually. And what I'm called to do then is to literally assist removing boulders, you know, or taking shields down that people have put in place to literally help protect themselves without realizing that when they're using energy to protect themselves, that's energy that they could be using to be expansive or to grow or to, you know, have meaningful relationships. But some of that energy is being used for something else. I talk about it like, imagine if you go to the gym and you picked up the big, you know, 20 kilogram weight plates. I don't know what they are over with you, like 30 pound, 33 pound or something. Pick up and you carry it around all day. Well, that gets heavy. Even if you have your phone in your hand because you don't have a pocket, you have to hold it in your hand all day. It gets in the way. Sometimes you want two hands and you just can't do it. Yeah, I can't do it. I don't have any hands. And that's the same when we carry this stuff around with us. It gets in the way of us doing what we could do. And sometimes we shut it down on purpose on a subconscious level. The other night when we were on our call, I talked about, I love this analogy of computers. And if you're on a PC, we want to change our life. So it's the equivalent of going into Windows and changing the screen settings, or, putting a new screensaver on it because now my life's better. But we don't even realize that even Windows is actually running on top of an operating system. And it's this operating system is like our subconscious, and we can't see it. It doesn't want us to see it a lot of the time. It wants to run the show, but it gets value and it protects itself by not being visible. It wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you where it understands you. And where that becomes interesting is sometimes people's lives really aren't comfortable. They just have this perception that they are because it's what they know. They might return to abusive situations over and over and over again, or keep drawing those situations back in because our subconscious wants to keep perpetuating exactly where we think we were when we were 5 or 6 or 7. So we just keep reliving it. And even if it's not there, we actually call it in. We call it in without even realizing it. I'm scanning, who's going to abuse me next? Who's going to abuse me next? Who's going to abuse me next? And vibrationally, we're putting that out. You're about to get abused. Oh, okay. Well, you want to get abused. All right. Well, here's someone to abuse you. And it might sound blunt and it might sound crazy, but that's how these cycles perpetuate. Mm. So what I do then with the work is that once we've actually identified what this is with an intuitive discussion, we literally dig down and we identify exactly what people's blocks are, where they came from, like the core block. Not like, I've got a block to eating healthy. That's bullshit. Not, I've got a block to receiving money. That's bullshit. It's not, but it's like, you're pruning a branch on your tree. You want to eat healthy. You prune a branch on your tree. Well, guess what? The trunk's just going to grow it back again. And sometimes people, even in drastic situations, just say, right, I'm out of here. They cut all the branches off the whole tree to prune it right back to nothing. Guess what? That might change. But a lot of the time it doesn't. You just run away from it. So the answer is to come back into these very, 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 very principal core beliefs that form everything. Where is the seed inside the base of the tree that receives nutrients from its environment, that grows into a trunk, that forms branches, that forms flowers, that forms fruit, that flourishes? Where is that? And that's what I help people discover for themselves. And it's, if you walk up to someone in the street and you say, what your effing problem is, they're going to go, they contract. They won't discover it. So even if you can see what the concern might be, and it's quite amazing, this stuff sticks out really prominent. And a lot of the time, even people know what it is. Oh, yeah, I just didn't want to mention that bit. You didn't want to mention the very thing that is causing the perpetuation of the cycles that you're so desperate to change, and you didn't want to mention it. Wonder why? I wonder why. And I wonder what happens if you don't mention it, if you keep burying it, you keep ignoring it. Still running the program. Still running the program.
I can only imagine how people must be feeling listening to this. I mean, me, myself, I'm like, there's parts where I'm tearing up. There's parts where I'm like, man, this is so freaking profound. And it speaks to my life because I've been living what you're explaining, the feeling of being abused as a kid, or being told I wasn't good enough, or having issues with my weight, or being teased by my friends. And in finding this success, or finding my ability to be a numerologist or a coach, or to speak success into others, it's almost like there's still the program running that I'm waiting for someone to be a hater, or I'm waiting for someone to say something negative about me, or if no one does, I'll do that to myself. And so when I got a chance to sit with you, it's just retelling it was like 2 weeks ago, my experience. And I knew I was ready for coaches. I knew I was ready to take it to the next level. I got to do this at least once a year. I'm going to be spending the first few months of the year working with people that I respect to help me get to the new version of me. So, and I already knew numerology, right? So that was kind of my background. But then this guy activated and just did for me what he just did for you guys. If you're watching this live or if you're watching the replay, that sent chills down my spine to think, man, that takes me back. It takes me back to the times where I felt inferior. And I felt like it's like, so I'll explain the process that I went through. And I would imagine that as you continue to grow, it's some advice for you. You continue to grow your purpose, your process, your vision, your mission, that you never forget about the 1 hour session that can change someone's life. Never forget about the 3 to 5 hours you could spend with someone. Like, depending on the budget someone's got. Maybe someone is not at that point where they know how to invest that much money in themselves, and they can only get with you for an hour, and they're like, well, I couldn't spend thousands of dollars on a coaching program, which is what we're about to unveil. If you guys have seen our program yet, it's going to be $1,111. It's $1,111, and it's a wonderful way of absolutely activating what we've come up with. It's called your aligned life, or what is it? It's
aligned life alliance. Yeah, but it's interesting you say that. It's interesting you say that, Bobby, because that's one of the indicators. You know, do we have permission to do things? You know, I even know people that even get the courage up to take advantage of situations that they know are going to push them, and they finally get the courage up. They finally get the courage up. Yep. Say all right, I want to go skydiving. You finally get the courage to pay the money. It's a lot of money to go skydiving. You pay the money, you're on the plane, you've done through the training, and then all of a sudden you're on the edge of the plane. You're at the door. Do you actually jump? And that's what this is a lot like. You know, do you have the permission to jump?
Yeah.
We spend money all the time on all sorts of things, and we don't really think about it. We just think, oh, yeah. You know, I don't really do it now, but even back in my days when I used to go out, and, you know, you might go out on the town for a night. You might come back and think, wow, I just spent $100, and I don't even know where it went. Mm. And that was so long ago. That was back when, you know, a drink was $5. You know, now you go like, I order a beer, and it's like, oh, yeah, that'll be $12. Like, what? You want what? So it's all relative. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were saying, oh, yeah, they're a pack-a-day smoker. But, yeah, well, how much is that? Oh, like $40. And there's 7 days in a week. And you start doing the maths. Wow. How much money did you just spend in a year? And then imagine if they continue that for a lifetime. It's crazy. You're a maths man. You'd be able to work that out for me.
Yeah.
What's $40? $40 a day?
Times 365 days. Holy smokes, that's a lot of coin.
And then times that, say, by 10 years.
Sure, 12,000 times 10, 120 grand, something like that.
And then times that by, that's just 10 years. What if you're a lifetime smoker, 50-year smoker, $500,000 to smoke? $500,000 to literally poison yourself.
Yeah. Robin's saying, you guys are both cracking me, my mind, my heart open. Massive downloads for me. So blessed to be here in this moment. Thank you both. So I want to pour that love onto you, my friend. You do great work. And I appreciate it, Robin. You are such a sweetheart for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin.
I absolutely accept that. I absolutely, definitely acknowledge and accept that. So this experience, guys, it was profound. I get it. Craig's got a lot of really cool things to say, and he's absolutely just like setting chills down my spine. I was there. I was actually had my own experience. So yeah, as I was saying, you know, and thank you for sort of saying that, you know, where that we don't give ourselves permission to actually spend this type of money in coaches. So if you have worked with him and me, and it has been multiple times, congratulations. You are one of the most powerful, spiritually open people out there. But there are some people out there who feel like it's not available for them. So as you grow, as you continue to become a juggernaut in this industry of self-development, personal development, spiritual insight, I'd say that there would be because it was encased as a one session feel. We could have left it at that. I wanted to go deeper. We could have left it at that. I wanted to go deeper. We could have left it at that. I wanted to go deeper because I'm so intrigued by what you can do and what happens inside of the energetic space. It's not very often that you find someone super close to you, who knows how to navigate through this very shamanistic world of like what you were saying out there is like you have to be almost like a community appointed healer to be able to actually do this. So you've been busy, you've been getting clients, you've been working with people more than once. Now you're having people who want to work with you more than 3 sessions. Your program is extending. Now you and I have created a program as well. Actually, you've created the program and you've invited me in it. Okay, you invited me in it, and I'm so super blessed for this. We'll talk about this in a minute, but I want to share with you guys my experience. So I was like, all right, man, so what are we going to do? I figured we were going to like, sit and chat for the first session, and then I was going to talk to you about my stuff, and that you were going to sort of like do this with me and like, put, oh, don't need this, you don't need this. And that feeling is like, okay, let's heal Bobby, right? That was my expectation. So, and then he's like, all right, cool. Sit down, lay down, lights off. Like, I'm like, do we get on Zoom for this? Like, no, I'm just going to think about you. And I'm like, whoa, that's cool. Okay. So I went into a meditation. I put on a godlike frequency, megahertz something on YouTube. And I basically laid down, lights were off, and I went into meditation. And inside, I'm very super spiritual. I want this to work. I've got the suggestion already in there. I've paid this guy 111 AU dollars. I'm like, he's going to do something for me, okay? So as I'm laying down there, I'm feeling myself, relaxing. I'm going into a deep open state, very meditative. And then I started to get this vision of him and I approaching each other on the astral, like inside of energetic space. And to think, okay, I'm gonna see Craig. Hey, what's up, buddy? This is kind of like my imagination. And I let it run. I'm not just trying to be judging of it. I let it run, and I give him a hug. And, he kind of just gives me a little bit of a poke. How are you, buddy? Great to see you. That feeling of just like, if you've experienced Craig, he's kind of like a sour candy. Like, you kind of like, ooh, right at the first minute, and then it feels good to have him. You know what I mean? That feeling is like, you're sharp, but then you're also funny. And I guess this is kind of how Aussies are. I wouldn't swear, right? I try not to, but Aussies are like, fuck that, man. What the hell's wrong with you? Shut up. And that feeling is like you're there. So he's real and raw. And that's what I got inside of our meditation, was this feeling of my friend coming to get me. He's like, oh, like I was waiting at the spiritual bus stop. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to keep on lifting my body up, and then I'll be high enough for him to see me on the other side of the world, so he'll have to find me. And he basically found me, and then he's like, let's go. And so what ended up happening was I started like sharing and opening up and started to think about the irritations I had about my kid's dad, okay? Like, my kids have their own father, and I was unloading the energy there instead of our session. How about the energy of my own self-abuse and my self-harm and self-attack? The feeling of me wanting to get better. The trouble in me communicating with I'm reeling to myself, and he's kind of like, that's not right. That's not real, is it? He's kind of just like, really? Is this really what you're, like, this is the feeling inside to think that better is what he's trying to tell me, is like, that, like, that's fine if you have that, but that's not right? That's not real. That's just a projection. That's just you putting it on there. And I'm just sitting there, like, having this conversation in my head, just smiling. And I'm like, man, what's this guy even doing? I could feel him sort of like moving his hand over me and kind of like holding my energetic space, and basically just taking my energetic body and giving it a scrub down. So it's a very powerful experience. We got Helen. What's up, Helen? How's it going? Welcome. I'm just telling people about how I had a very powerful experience with Craig when he was working on me. And he said, sit down 45 minutes, 50 to be sure, and we'll connect in a bit. So basically I sat down, the lights were off. I had a really deep meditation. I felt like I was on a cloud. I felt like I was actually moving some of my energetic pieces up. It felt like he had just, I don't have it here. I've got just these small little lights. They look like this. It's like a piece that's like this, and you can hang it on a car. It's got like a little hook, and so you can hang it on the inside of a car hood or on the inside of something, and it's a little LED. You just quickly press it, and then the light beams. So it felt like he just did that, like right inside here, and then he had, okay, I'm going to do some work now, and basically just helped move some files around, defragment their energy, and actually work inside of my body. And it was a crazy, surreal feeling. You have to take it from me because I'm a spiritual kind of guy. I talk with crystals in my hand. I do numerology. I talk about past lives and spiritual and old souls and all that stuff. So I was really playing into it. So the 50 minutes passes, and then we sat and chat for like half an hour, 45 minutes or something like that. and he basically showed me my drawing. Okay, so he's like, I just get this stuff. I really don't think it. I just let it go. And he drew my body as like an energetic stick man. Okay, so it had a stick. It was a stick figure, but it had. I'm going to see if I can even pull it up. It had illustrated some of the blocks that I was experiencing and where my energy was being blanketed. Okay, so when I saw it, I was like, "Well, this is super cool." This was my thing. Okay, so this basically looks. This is me in spiritual form without any clothes on. So just don't look at that. But this is basically what I look like. Okay, so he drew me a picture of myself, and he basically went on to describe, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that it says blocked and locked. There was a really strange looking grid. There was a portal inside my head that was locked and blocked. I had a slimy back, so I'm like, dude, I'm paying you for this right now. And then he's like, it's a heavy shield, a dense core. I need systems. I need reason. And I'm like, thinking back to numerology, yeah, he's nailing it. This is absolutely me. And then around my feet, heavy shield, insulating, and grounding. Grounding needs to happen. So then he ended up doing another one after, and so this was basically what he was doing while he was working on me. He was turning me from something like this. You can see how a lot of this stuff is inked really dark. It's supposedly an indicator of how blocked my energy is. And then he's like, do you go barefooting? I'm like, not really, not unless I'm in the shower. He's like, no, I mean, like on the earth. You ever put your feet on the earth? I'm like, I really don't. And he's like, you need to do that. And it was interesting because while he was working on me, he was clearing me up. And then basically this was my post Craig session. Okay, so after I worked with him, you can see that I'm beaming light out of my mouth, out of my eyes, out of my what I assume to be my crystal top end, what's happening at the very beginning of me. The grid is no more diamond. It's all circular. I'm beaming out of my heart as well. I've obviously lost a little bit of weight here. Like, I feel much better. Okay, so this was the first session we did. Then the next session we got a chance to do, and I look at this and I look back at it, and it said things like flow. I got to let things flow. I have to accept what is and let be. And the battles, like the battles with my landlord and the battles with the children's dad and the battles with like all of this stuff is like, oh my God, the battles with myself and my own self-worth. And he's like, let it flow, mate. You got to let this shit flow. You got to let this thing, like this stuff go. And then he also said, eat. And I'm like, oh man, you're gonna make me cry here. I eat the worst foods. I don't eat properly. And it's like this self-attack version of me where I'm not doing the thing that I need to do, which is to actually become a healthier, he's like, as spiritual as you are, you're still a robot. You're still a body. You're still a physical piece of this earth. You have to treat your body with a divine right of it. You can't just keep feeding it Pop-Tarts and crap and pizza pops and chips and processed food and expect to have a spiritually enlightened experience. It's not going to happen. So I was like, and I mean, I knew this, but this is the stuff he's telling to me while I'm sitting there by myself, imagining what he's going to say to me. And then love. He put in there love to think that this is something that I should be giving out as well as back to myself. And then another one, he said move, which is really interesting because me and Sally are dancing, and we want to become dancing until so that when I already love dancing. I mean, I can, there's that show, So You Think You Can Dance. I know I can dance. So the feeling in here is to think that in our wedding in August, Sally and I are gonna dance together, and so we're practicing. We put it on the schedule. And it let me understand that I need to be moving and I need to actually keep my movement energy higher. So I'm enthusiastic about getting out of bed. I'm enthusiastic about getting my dog for a walk and taking her out at the end of the day, beginning of the day, and actually like going up and down the stairs. Before I'd be like, it's down the stairs. I got to go down there and get it. Now I'm thinking, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to actually work my legs out and to move back up. So he actually like changed the way that my programs ran inside. And then when it came to session, and then at the same time, I was also working with a hypnotherapist. So I got a little bit of a timeline regression therapy done before I met Craig. So I feel like I should have gotten this done after. But the reality is like, all right, we're going to go round 2. So I'm like, all right, this is the upsell. He's going to sell me another session. And I'm like, the way that you made me feel, absolutely, take me through. He's like, we're going to condense space and time. We're absolutely going to take this. We're going to help you heal through it because I just busted you the shit open. And I'm like, you really did. Because after I was with him, I was like sitting like this for like a good couple of days. I'm like, I can't focus. I couldn't get mad at my kids. I didn't even get mad at anyone. I wasn't angry with anything. I was just kind of like, shoot, woo. Like I was disconnected from myself from such a distance that I was able to do some of the cleaning while I'm gone. Like if you've ever hired a cleaner and then you leave the living room or you leave the house while they do their work, this is what happened. I hired Craig to clean me out, and he basically said, you're going to be disconnected for a little while, go easy on yourself, and then this is your brain doing things like a ripping apart of all of the synapses that have been layered and woven and closed in. That grid that I assumed is really negative for me is like systems on systems on systems on systems as I've learned how to protect my ego. So I was in a vulnerable place. And then that Friday after, we got taken to court from my child's dad, and he fought for his right to not pay child support. I was a little upset about that. And I basically dished him out on live on Facebook seconds before I had to meet with Craig. So I was here just like, oh man, this guy's this and that. I can't believe him. He's a good for this, good for nothing, da 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 da. And I went off and I didn't do some of my best work. I probably wouldn't have done that if I hadn't worked with him in the first place, because I would just kept that shit buried. And I didn't do that because before I was like not saying anything, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna let it go. I'm not gonna say anything. And then next thing you know, I had all these spiritual experiences. I'm like, screw you guys. I had a spiritual experience. I need to vent. I need to take this out on my people. And I did. I got support, but they were all like, yeah, rah rah, like let's go up against this guy. And Craig's like, dude, man, that's like you. You're like dissing yourself. You're talking trash about you, about your own inability, your own fear. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, she's cutting me down to size. Oh my God, this is crazy. And he got a chance to actually give me some seriously powerful, potent information about how to work with who I am and recognize that I'm a spiritual mirror in this universe. It was so super crazy. And like as someone who works with people, I work with all of you guys inside of my business. You're all my clients, my friends, my family. I would absolutely 1000% recommend working with Craig as part of the most integral stuff that you do in the success journey in your path. Their words cannot even be described. We have no freaking idea what is up there, and Craig has some level of an idea about what's up there, and he works or he plays very fluently in that space. I would say this is a very loving feeling of trust. So after this, I was just like, whoa. I was suddenly a lot nicer to my wife, a lot nicer to my kids, a lot nicer to everything. I went out and made a post. I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. This guy's going through his own thing. I got to respect that. And I felt much more invincible. I felt much more powerful to actually speak and deliver some truth. Then my clients came, and I noticed a huge difference in the way that I was interacting with them. It was like almost as if he took a windshield wiper to my soul and my eyes and basically snatched away all of the crap and allowed me to work forth in power. At the end of this, I was just like, whoa. And he's like, we should do a timeline regression therapy. I'm like, I'll get back to you on that. I just can't think right now. I already had one done by Holly P. Loxton, another one of my clients, and she basically did a hypnotherapy around me. And we got a chance to say hi to my inner child, heal him, let him know that, I took his little hand and I showed him, look at all the people who like me now. Look at all the people who love to work with me. And that feeling was like I connected because that little scared boy was just crying because daddy was making fun of him for eating. And people are teasing him about his weight. And he doesn't know whether he's getting hit. And all these things are happening to this small little boy. But then Craig's like, this past life or timeline regression, which what would happen in time 3 is condensing time and space by taking that small little memory and recognizing that, hey, no one's going to hurt you anymore. You've made it. You've actually succeeded. And I was just like, man, this is such a wonderful way to treat yourself. This is way better than the snacks, the treats, the alcohol, the booze, the smokes, the drugs, or the sex, or the whatever you pay for in life. That feeling of you getting away from it all and just finding some joy and one little pleasure moment. This guy here will actually give you the opportunity to break free from that. And I feel so much better about myself because I'm working with you. So it led us, I know this is kind of a long-winded little segue, it led Craig to an offer. Now, this offer didn't come along just because it came along. Craig is also investing in himself, and he's growing his abilities. He's going to go and spend a week or 2 weeks at a retreat in Costa Rica. Okay, now you're going out there and you're going to become next level Craig. And I'm like, whoa, to think that you've been doing this and this is level 1, level 2 of your business, to think that you're going to go in and smash into level 10 in a couple of weeks. Now, this presented an opportunity for us because here I am thinking, how do I help you? How do I become a part of this? How do I work with you in such a way that is going to help you get there? So he's like, dude, I'm going to come up with a program. So this is what happened. Align Life Alliance, okay? This program that he's come up with is a 6-session, 2-week phenomenon where he's going to have and I'll let you explain it a little bit. I'm just going to kind of tee it up. There's 6 sessions. 1 of them is going to be with me. 2 of them is going to be with Craig. And 3 of them will be with all of us. We're both like as a group. So what we're doing is we're putting in a group of people. We've got a limit at 20. I really don't think I should be limiting this, but at the same time, logistically speaking, I get it. There's only enough time to do so many people in that amount of time. But I see that we should be doing this with larger groups, just between me and you and the rest of everyone who's watching this. But the reality is that every Sunday coming up, Sunday for you, Saturday for me, we're going to be holding a group session. Now, there's 3 group sessions. I usually charge $111 US each one. Then an hour of my time, $268 US. So far we're at the $333, how about the $600 and something mark just for Bobby's time. Then Craig is putting 2 of his hours, one-on-one hour sessions, another $222, plus I'm throwing in another $111 written report for the extra 2 years, as well as you're getting 3 coaching guided meditation sessions, 1 to activate you, 1 to help promote you, and 1 to absolutely expand you. So there's going to be a strong group of people who are spiritually focused. They are going to be taking their future into the next dimension, the next generation. And I have the honor and the privilege of being beside you while you do this. I hope that this sparks the journey that we're about to take over the next years of our lives, where this turns into physical retreats for us, and we're getting a chance to do this over a week or 2 weeks out there in somewhere really cool. I envision Bali. I envision Vancouver Island. You're going to have to come up here. I also envision somewhere in Australia. We're going to do one of the Philippines. Like, these are my dreams. And to find you and to help create this, Align Life Alliance, this is yours. I'm a pet project, and I'm a pet inside of your project. And I want to be a part of it because I know the value. I understand the value to the point where I'm discounting my services to be here with you and to support and promote yours, because I know what this is worth. And I know that when you're getting a chance to work with this guy and with me, anybody knows about numerology, if you guys are clients of mine and you take advantage of this, not only will you have already had your who, what, where, when, and why, but then you're going to have your now what, and then you're also going to have your okay, so then what happens? With me, I'm going to do an added extra session bonus for you because you've already had your numerology done with me. So there's going to be a powerful connection. There's going to be a lot of love, a lot of health, a lot of growing, a lot of, coming full circle of the bull crap that we tell ourselves and we've been living by. And I've only got a few minutes left, Craig. So I'm sorry that I kind of hijacked and railed this thing hard with my own, but I want you to talk about what this program means to you. I want to take this and get really real with this. We want to send you to Costa Rica. We believe in you. We absolutely believe in your power, a lot. And I put my life on it. I put my hard-earned money on this, that you would actually help me to get to a better place. And it's only been a few days and you have. I feel different. I feel better. I feel awesome. I feel amazing. And I believe in this stuff to actually be something you need. You need to seek out coaches. So what we're doing is $1,111 US. There is a payment plan. $555 will get you your deposit, and then you and I will deal with not you and I, Craig. Whoever's paying on the payment plan will deal with agreeable terms. I don't care if it's $1 a day or if it's $50 a week, whatever you can possibly afford. You let me know. I will create a program for you so it's easy and it's really not noticeable. And I will take that money slowly from you, so it's not just a big, huge fill. But if you do take the 1111 all at once and you do buy it right then and there, I'm going to add 2 extra free bonus written reports, one for your spouse, or two for your kids, or one for your husband, one for your boyfriend, who knows, whatever it is that you need. I'm putting in another $222 worth of written material for you as an added bonus, because I want to wrap this up. I want people to know that we're paying it forward and that we're helping you create something. Because of this, you're going to get past yourself, and you're going to be able to create the wealth for yourself, your family, your others, and treat success like your moral obligation and moral duty and responsibility to create for those around you. So I think I've hammered on this enough. I want to get your speak from this. I want you to use your own words and your own energy, Craig. Tell us, what are we going to expect? How is this going to work? Break it down. What happens in this program?
It just folds space and time on this stuff. You know, how many people go into healings and block the healing process? How many people hire you and get their numbers read and then don't even take on the name because they don't give themselves permission to do it? How many people don't literally feel like they have the internal power, the internal worth? Yeah, I'd love to have $1 million, but it'll never happen. I just don't succeed. Where the frick does that come from? Where was that born? At what point in time was that limit put on you? And then why is it that you keep perpetuating and keeping that limit in place? That's what this is all about. You know, why is it that when you've got an opportunity to do a massive sound healing, why do you get up and walk out of the room? You know, I had one person that I was doing a consult with, and they said they got up and walked out of this room, and we realized why. Because when they were a little girl, they had to be deadly silent because their dad was always sleeping because he did night shift. And loud noises triggered her little girl thinking, holy shit, dad's going to wake up. And here she is, she's in her 30s now, and this program's still running in her own body. So anytime she hears loud noises or she hears people being outspoken, she's deeply concerned on this core level, on a subconscious level, that she's going to wake up her own dad from when she was a kid. That's how this stuff plays out. And it's running in our programs and we don't realize. So what we basically do is energetically, we come in and we identify this stuff. We remove some of those blocks. We look at what they actually are. We cut down your ability to keep looking through these subconscious filters all the time. And we really empower this objective ability. Take a good freaking look now. Take a good look at what you're actually doing. You've still got free will. You can put all this straight back in place if you want to. Your subconscious can put it straight back in place if you want to. But that's what the whole process goes on. One session is really powerful. But what we do the multiple sessions for is because, yeah, sure, we've identified this stuff. You've got all this potential. Off you go. See you later. Have fun with your potential. But if you don't actually have the belief still that you deserve your potential, you'll never act on it. So that's when these intuitive deep dives come into it. We discuss it. We unearth it. We pull it up. We name it for what it is. We get the light bulb to come on inside you. It's not about me seeing it. It's about you seeing it and you feeling it and then getting to make these powerful choices. Powerful, powerful choices that you can then carry on for the rest of your life exponentially. If you say you didn't even have the guts to ask for a pay rise, even though you really deserved it, and you're doing all this extra work, what would it be worth to you financially to literally walk up to your boss and say, you know that I'm pivotal to this job. I would like a pay rise, please. I've worked hard for it. I deserve it, and you're going to benefit. If you get a pay rise out of that for the rest of your life, what's it worth to you financially? Hell of a lot more than $1,000. It's incalculable. If you get to the point where you feel so healthy that you actually want to energize things, or, you know, I even mucked around the other day, you keep drawing people into your
Craig, if you're with us there, your camera just froze. I think we're still up there. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah. So it's all about this perpetuation of cycles, and the way I see it is we literally freeze frame on that cycle, so you can then make a choice about whether you want it to continue or not, or whether you actually say, you know what, I'm going to start putting fertilizer in this soil and I want this tree to grow differently from now on. I'm sick of it not bearing fruit. I'm sick of it not being this. I'm sick of it not. I'm worth a lot more than this. I deserve to grow, and I deserve abundance, and I deserve a loving relationship, and I deserve somewhere I belong. I deserve a community of people that respect and value me for what I am, not for just what I give. You know, if I choose not to give you because it doesn't serve me right now, are you going to judge me? Are you going to criticize me? Or are you going to say, you know what, that's cool. You deserve some time out. You do a lot of awesome stuff. Whereas most people that are carers, they just care and care and care and care. As soon as the caring stops, people say, come on, keep caring. Keep caring. What the frick's going on? We set these cycles up. We set these cycles up. I don't deserve love. Here's someone that comes into my life who won't ultimately love me. Get rid of them. Sick of it. Burn out. Oh, but wait, I want love. I want love. I want love. Attract someone in who won't love you. We do this stuff. We do this stuff. So that's what we do. We deep dive. We crack it wide open so that people can make beautiful choices. And even though it was interesting the way you were describing your process, that was your process. You know, there's a lot of people that I work with who it's a container. The container is what people need. You needed a shake-up. You wanted to be shaken up, and that was the point. The point was, I was pointing out that it was actually a bit fucked up for you to want to shake up like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas other people don't. They actually need compassion. They want compassion for the first time in their life. They want to be nurtured, and that's what we do. They have to take the responsibility, and that's where the extra sessions come in. The extra sessions are all about this timeline healing and compassion. Giving that little boy or that little girl what they didn't get when they were a little boy or a little girl. Some love, self-love, self-love. You imagine they're there, they're crying. Something's missing in my life, and they're speaking in their language. Where's mum? Where's dad? Where's my love? And you can literally go back and you can say, it's okay. I love you. Everything that you need is right here, right now. And like you said, look at what I become. I get past all this. I get through all this. Look at all this that I'm doing now. Look at all the things that I've achieved. I've got kids now. I've got a house. I've got a business. I've got dreams. I've got goals. And look at what you become. And it's only going to get better from here. You love me now, and I love you now, but you wait till we're in the future. It's going to blow your socks off, man, and the stuff that we're going to keep experiencing. It's these sort of conversations.
That's crazy.
And then the next step is, you talked about it, you know, that your synapses got popped. That's because everything that you were processing and thinking with was all just serving your limits. It was all serving what you thought you were worth on a subconscious level. I'm not really worth love. I don't really deserve love. Even though I want it and I desire it from a human point of view, this is all I'm ever going to get. So that's what you're filtering through. What we did was we pulled it apart and said, you know what? You deserve a shitload more than you've had in the past. How much do you really want now? How much do you want this? So and this is where I see the next part of the process, is that we nurture this. Where do you want this to slot back together? This is where your manifestation comes out. If you're trying to, you know, a lot of businesses talk about manifesting. What's your dream day look like? What's your dream day look like? And we're talking to this limited subconscious. I'd like a sandwich, and I'd like a couple of hours off work. That'd be lovely, thanks. And that's all you can come up with on your dream day. Frick that. I want to live here, and I want to experience all this stuff in the world, and I've got taste buds, so I want to see how far I can push my taste buds with cuisines from around the world. I want to not just feel the soil between my toes. I want to feel what the soil's like between my toes in China. Oh, I wonder if the vibration in Canada and Vancouver feels different when I'm standing there. Oh, that'd be cool to find that out.
I can't wait for this week, man. This is going to be so super cool.
Yeah.
I'm so super excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're at the top of the hour, buddy. I got to cut you off, and we're going to continue this conversation. The first of the when we open this up is happening on the. I'm just going to quickly pull up the calendar. It's happening on the 17th, right? Or no, 16th?
That's your time. So it's this Sunday for Australians.
On the 17th. Be there,
Yep.
please. Helen's saying you are definitely talking to me. You're being called. There's a reason why you're here, Helen. Kelly, Robin, Luke, thanks for coming live with us. We're going to post the replay when we do. Guys, if you've been here, you were live, do us a favor and share this message with others. I am on a personal mission here to help Craig get where he needs to go. And I've got another mastermind I've got to get to right now, so I appreciate you so much. Love you, love you, love you so much, my brother. I cannot wait to see what happens next, to see what Costa Rica does to you, and to see what this is going to do for everybody in their lives because of being inside of here. So thank you for weaving that energy back. Helen saying, thanks, guys. This will be great. I take it, Helen, that you're going to want to be there. Absolutely. You are amazing. She's saying you guys are amazing. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you. And we will connect very soon. I think we're going to do this again before our event. But share this message. Everyone needs to know it. The replay's coming up. You catch it on my YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching. You have a great night, okay? All right, guys. Take care, everybody.
Love you. Love you all.